Today we are going to continue the same topic that we have discussed yesterday, that is life cycle of applet. We haven't seen in depth of each state. We'll see how each state is actually executing in program. First state of applet's life cycle is initialization state. I explained yesterday what is initialization state. Applet enters the initialization state when it is first loaded. You know that applet is a program which runs on internet. So it does not have any, it doesn't have, excuse me. Yeah, the first state of applet lifecycle is initialization state. Applet enters the initialization state when it is first loaded. You know that applet is a program which runs in internet with the help of either the internet browser or the applet viewer. So in this program, you don't have any public static void main method. Instead of that, we have an initialization method, that is init method. So this will be called an initialized whatever the requirement needed to execute applet. So applet enters the initialization state when it is first loaded. So this is achieved by calling the method called as init method of applet class. You know that all the applet programs are inherited from a class called as applet class. So there are built-in methods in applet class such as init, start, stop, etc. So first state, the applet will be in loaded, or applet will be in initialization state when you call the method called as init, I-N-I-T, init method. And the applet is born, they may do the following. Once the applet is initialized, or once the compiler or interpreter call init method, applet will be in born, or applet is born. Once it's born, you can do the following: create objects needed by the applet. You know that every program needed an object to execute, right? Every Java program, as far as the object-oriented program is concerned, you need an object to execute the program, right? So we'll create the number of objects needed by the applet. That is actually called as the requirement, initial requirement. Then set up initial values. This is same like constructor, right? It will set up the initial values. But the only difference is that in constructor, you are not going to create object, but in init method, you are going to create the object as well as you are setting the initial values. Set up the initial values. Then one more thing is you can load the images or fonts. If you want to load the images before executing the applet, you can load using the init method. Or if you want to set the font style of, letters, you can do that. And if you want to make colors, if you want to give colors for the images and fonts, or background colors if you want to give, you can give using the init method. And the initialization occurs only once in the applet lifecycle. So what are the main, tasks of init method? There are 4 main tasks. One is creating the objects needed by the applet. Second is set up the initial values. Fourth is load images or fonts. And fifth is set up colors. So these are the 4 major components, or 4 major you know, task of init method. So what are these tasks? I will give you an example. I'm going to open a web page. There you can see how this task is been created, or how this task is been done. So I'm going to open one website. Let's see any website. Let's say I'm going to open our website only. That is wmoigac.in. You can see now the applet is loaded. What do you mean applet is loaded means you can see the background images, colors, fonts, menus, etc., which has been loaded, right? Now the website is in initialization state when you called. How did you call? You just type wmoigacc.in and plus enter button. When you click enter button, all the all the pre-requirement or initial requirement of the website is been loaded. Now this is an initial stage where you can see the images, you can see the statement, you can see the paragraphs, you can see the fonts, font color, background images, etc. Everything is loaded, right? So all four those tasks is been executed in init method, right? So this is how an init method is actually performing. That means create objects needed by the applet, then set up initial values, load images or fonts, and set up colors. So these are the four major tasks of init method. Okay, you remember that. Okay, also keep in your mind. Then the initialization occurs only once in the applet lifecycle. Initialization occurs only once in the life cycle of applet. Okay. It does not occur twice or thrice. Only once it occurs. Okay, so you should remember that only once the initialization occurs only once in the applet life cycle. Okay, it won't be repeated in the life cycle of applet. And to provide the above mentioned behavior, we must override the init method. I told you when we are creating an applet, we should extend or we should inherit our class from the main class called as applet. So when you inherit from applet class, all the methods of applet class is been overridden into your program. What do you mean overridden? The same method can be used in your class as well, right? So when you want to implement all these features in your program, you should override the method called as init method. Otherwise, you cannot do all these tasks. Okay, so you have to override the init method. Then you can see a simple code for executing init method over here. Public void init. Public void init. Public is an access specifier. Void is a return type. In this method. Inside the bracket, what are the tasks you want to write? You can write there, right? If you want to create objects, you can create. If you want to set up initial values, you can set up. If you want to load the images or fonts, you can do that. If you want to set up the colors, you can set up the colors as well. But you have to write the code for each task in this particular method inside the bracket. So that is important, right? So this is about initialization state. Once everything is initialized, what is next? The next state is running state. Once initialization is done, next state is a running state. So we are able to run the applet now. Applet enters a running state when the system calls start method. So for entering into a running state, we'll call another method. That method is called as start method. So when I call start method, applet is going to enter into running state. This occurred automatically after the applet is initialized. Once the applet is initialized, you can start the applet. But you don't want to explicitly call the start method. Start method is automatically called when after the initialization. After the initialization, start method is automatically called. Starting can also occur if the applet is already in stopped or idle state. I told you in the previous session, you can run an applet from two states. You can run applet from initialization state, or you can run the applet from idle state. From both the states, you can start the applet or you can run the applet. That is possible, right? So from stopped or idle state, you can start the applet as well. Example, we may leave the web page containing the applet temporarily to another page and return back to the page, right? So now I will show you an example. Now we are in this page, wmijsc.in. We are in this page. So this everything is loaded now. Everything is loaded now. Now, after loading, automatically it enters into running state. Now it is in running state because all the basic requirements or all the basic needed, all the basic elements is being loaded automatically. Once everything is loaded automatically, this will enter into running state. Now this is in running state. So what happens when I'm going to another page without closing this? Say for example, I'm just going to my Facebook page or Gmail. I'm going to Gmail now. But actually, my previous page is there. My previous page is there. You got it? My previous page is there. You can see here, there are two tabs, Imam Ghazali Arts and Science College and Inbox. This is running, this page is actually running, and this page is also running. Both the pages are running, but different tab. When I'm moving from Gmail to my web page, that is Imam Ghazali Arts and Science College, this will be running. When I'm moving from Imam Ghazali Arts and Science College to Gmail, Imam Ghazali Arts and Science College is stopped and Gmail is started, right? Suppose I want to go back to again the previous page, that is Imam Ghazali Arts and Science College. Now it is running. So this is called as running to idle, idle to running. Running to idle and idle to running. Okay, I hope you understood. Now, unlike init method, start method may be called more than once because you can go back to you can go to idle state or stop the state and you can also come back. So start method may be called more than one time, right? More than once. Unlike init method, start method may be called more than once because you can go to stop the state by calling stop method and you can come back to running state by calling start method again, right? And after initialization, after initializing all the basic elements, that will be going to the applet will be entering into start state or entering into running state by automatically calling start method. You don't want to call that. And when you are moving from one page to another page, automatically your page will be going to, or your page will be entering into stopped state or idle state. From idle state, when you open again that tab, that will be automatically called start method so that your page will be in running state. Okay, so unlike init method, start method may be called more than once. We may override start method because if you want to implement more, more features into your start method, you can do that by overriding the start method. You can create your own class you can override the method. Then, what is the next state? What is the next state? Next state is idle or stopped state. How an applet becomes an ideal state, or when an applet is going to an ideal state? Applet becomes idle when it is stopped from running. When it is stopped from running. Stopping occurs automatically when we leave the page containing the currently running applet that I have shown you. When you open one tab, and write a website address, that website will be coming up, right? Once everything is loaded, you just want to go to another tab. If you go to another tab, the currently existing tab will be going to, stop the state. That is the second statement actually depicts. Stopping occurs automatically when we leave the page containing the currently running applet. We can also do by calling stop method explicitly. If you want to, call explicitly, or if you want to forcefully stop the applet, you can forcefully stop that applet by calling stop method. That is also possible. We can achieve this by overriding stop method. Same like the start and init method, we can also override stop method as well. So like this, public void stop, inside the bracket whatever you want you can write. Okay, so this is about idle state. So what is the next state? Next state is dead state, right? So what is dead state? This is the last state of applet life cycle. What is dead state? An applet is said to be dead when it is removed from memory. That means when I close the entire browser window, your application will be closed. Or when you close the particular tab, that application or the applet will be in dead state, right? An applet is said to be dead when it is removed from memory. How to remove from memory? Let me see. Here you can see there is a page. A tab is there. I'm going to close this. When I use this close button to close this tab, see, I just closed. That means that applet is entered into dead state. You cannot go back to start because you already closed the tab. When you close the tab, that means you close the, you just kill the applet, right? So that's it about dead state. And this occurs automatically by invoking the destroyed method when we quit the browser. Not only quitting the browser, when you close the tab also, the browser or the applet will be moving to a dead state, right? Like initialization, destroying stage occurs only once in the applet lifecycle. You cannot repeat the destroy method or destroyed stage more than once, right? Born and dead only once in your life cycle. Born and dead only once in your life cycle, right? In program also, in applet also, in applet life cycle, born, that means start and stop, start and dead or destroy will be only once in their life cycle, right? So keep in your mind, there are two methods which actually execute only once in their life cycle. Those are init method and destroy method. But you can call stop method and start method more than once in their life cycle. You can override destroy method same like other methods like public, void, destroy. So inside the bracket, whatever the content you need, you can write. Okay. So this is about the life cycle of applet. And one more small state is display state. So what is the display state? This actually moves to display state whenever it has to perform some output operations on the screen. What are the output operations on the screen? That means in the previous example, we can see our web page, our college web page is displaying, right? There are graphics. Graphics means images are there, moving objects are there, menus are there, right? All those are called as graphics. So you can create a graphics in display state. Okay, so applet moves to display state whenever it has to perform some output operation on the screen. What will be output operation on the screen? When you want to, display a background image, that is an output operation, right? This happens immediately after the applet enters into a running state. Okay, the paid method is called to accomplish this task. So what is the method called for accomplish a display stage or accomplish the display task? That method is called as paid method. So by using the paid method, you can create graphics, right? You can import images. Almost all applets will have paid method because nowadays you can see there are ample of applications with different kinds of designs, right? Different kinds of designs. So all those designs is being incorporated into your program or into your application using a method called as paid method that you will be studying when you're doing project, right? So we must override the method if you want anything to display on the screen. If you want to display anything on the screen, you can override the method paint. Okay. So these are the different states of applet life cycle.